make sure it's right here. Good evening. My name is Sangwais. I am seeking re-election, and I would just like to thank everybody for coming out this evening, taking time, interest into what we hold for the next 4 years, and making that right decision in electing the next team. So I spoke last night about different areas, but I ended off and I ran out of time as talking about Pasadena property management and the opportunities that we have in resort developments. One of these areas in our resort development plan identifies entrepreneurship, where we invest in our members, help them, support them, guide them, and help build our hospitality. You know, we have 3 other First Nations neighboring us, and that's something that we could build upon. We could come together collectively. We have a golf course in Cowsis. We have the ski slopes in Ochapways. You know, that's something that we can benefit on and build and start doing that nation-to-nation relationship building once again. So we keep investing into our entrepreneurship program policy. We've updated it. We have new regulations and processes which will help benefit our entrepreneurs and to get on to the next level of accessing the bigger grants that are out there. I also wanted to talk about transitional housing. We also made a partnership with another First Nation, and we applied for transitional housing on Regina lands here, because we know that there's a crisis within the communities, the big urban areas, homelessness, the cost of inflation is rising all the time, cost of living. So we need to look at other opportunities to help us access these resources, to help us bring housing to our members in the urban areas. So we applied for this one funding. We weren't successful, but now we know what we have to do to get to where we need to get to. We also need to work on the housing in Regina here. So that's creating a housing authority. But I myself don't believe in creating a housing authority. I believe in our nation being sovereign and creating our own legislation, our own housing laws, with the establishment of what we want as members. Because as soon as you go into a housing authority, you're abiding by the provincial legislation. And I don't think we want provincial legislation running our housing on federal land. So it all comes down to infrastructure. It costs millions of dollars to develop and put pipes, water and sewer into the ground in our westlands, our eastlands, our southeast lands. So you have to be strategic on how you reinvest your monies. We have lots of opportunities in all different areas, Yorkton, Pasadena, and the Regina lands. So you have to look at your external relationships and who you build these up with, that they can bring in these external funding opportunities to help get the infrastructure into the ground. Saskatchewan has a renewable energy plan. By 2035, they are implementing renewable energy. So we have to start leaning and developing in that green area. There's lots of funding programs out there as well too. The community comprehensive base plan needs to be updated. 2017 was when we last updated it. So that needs to be updated. And each year that funding is getting cut. It was cut half the funding this year. So we need to tap into these resources right away And that's where the council gets their mandates from of what the membership want leadership to address. Right now in the community comprehensive based plan, it addresses environmental stewardship. We're organic. All our traditional medicines and our farming are all chemical free. The second area in the CCBP is building connections. So that's talking about the membership services and building that strength there. The third area is growing community responsibility. So that's where we create that communication plan. And the community comprehensive based plan identifies all these opportunities of where we can address and build upon. The fourth action area is holistic health and wellness. And the fifth one is cultivating opportunities. So I know that it is available on our app, so if you want to look into it and read it, it is there. It's a really good resource, and that's how council creates their mandates. We need to address a community safety plan. You hear other candidates talking about real life events, so we need to build that up. Implement resources, like say the COVID crisis, the protocols, the processes. We need to identify that. We need to build upon our child family wellness, create that foundation, implement the policies, the procedures, the legislation. The law still needs to be fully implemented for our child and family wellness area. We talk about the Financial Management Act.
Recording stopped.
And the 10-year grant. That's something that I support, us moving towards the 10-year grant.
Recording in progress.
Because now we have the Financial Management Act. So now we could take the social assistance monies and we could reallocate and rebuild and revamp that whole program. So that's something that's coming from the federal government to all the First Nations right now. So, you know, you could build lots of houses, but there's not enough employment out on the reserve. So that's how we need to focus on the employment with the economic opportunities there, because if you have all these houses and you bring all the people back home, but you don't have employment, it's gonna impact your social assistance list, because there's not much opportunities. So that's how come we really need to focus on our economic and business development. So last night, I'll just recap on some high level points of what I talked about. I know our videos will be available on YouTube, so you can go back to yesterday's, but we did talk about the traditional land use study, the impacts of Bill C-5, protecting our water, our land, environments, implementing our own justice system, moving away from the Indian Act, revitalizing our language, addressing our health needs within our treaty, our food sovereignty. We also need to build upon that as well too. And I also touched base on the bison and what we have for that area. So just with that, I know that we really have a lot of work ahead of us this term, and with our team, we have a lot of claims coming up. I believe there's 3 claims in the process. So it's a lot of understanding the past history. Like if I wanted to decolonize and go back to the original name of what Sangwais is, back in the day, the Indian agent heard Sangwais. But my real name is Zangwashi with a Z. So if we want to be treaty and sovereign and decolonize, that's one step of doing it individually. So just with that, I'm gonna summarize and wrap up. So thank you for all your time and your consideration, and I wish you all safe traveling mercies and blessings to your families. And with that, Kichi Mingwech, and have a great evening.